Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Last week I showed you a card that I'd made for the Casually Crafting Stampers group, which is a blog hop with demonstrators from around the world. And this is the card I'd made, and I used the designer series paper which goes with the Butterfly Brilliance stamps, the Butterfly Bijou. But this sold out last week, and so I wanted to show you a different way to make this card, not using the DSP. Now, it's a really easy card, and it's aimed at casual crafters who maybe don't have all of the tools or lots of different tools and lots of different inks and things. So I made a pretty simple card that you could step up if you wanted to, but it stood alone as a nice sort of classic little card that was easy to make, and you could make it in batches, but it would be fast. So let me show you how I'm going to change it so that you still get this same design and this same look. I'm using the same stamp set, of course, the Butterfly Brilliance, and this is a large stamp set. All of the butterflies are on the one red rubber set, and you'll need to put this on quite a big block. If you don't have a big block, you can always put it onto the stamp case and use that as your block and then stamp down with it. So I've already stamped that for the front. I will link this video back to the blog post that I had because it tells you all the sizes of everything. So I just stamped this in Memento black ink on basic white paper, and I added it to Mango Melody for my backing layer, and I'm making it exactly the same as the original card. But instead of having that designer series paper butterfly, which was so easy because the whole sheet of DSP, you just put the dies on and cut it out, or if you didn't have the die set, you could just cut it out by hand because they're an easy butterfly to do. But this time, instead, I just stamped another one of the fronts like this, and you can fussy cut with your scissors to cut it out. If you do happen to own a Big Shot or a Stampin' Cut machine, anything that will cut, then you can do that as well. But it's such an easy one to cut by hand. So here is my little one that I've got cut, and I'm going to colour it just the same colours. This was coloured in Mango Melody in the light and the dark. So I've got my blends, and I've also got my light basic black, because you can see on the designer series paper the body is a little bit blacker than it stamps. So I'm just going to colour that in really quickly. I'm not spending a lot of time. Know that it's nothing sort of difficult to do. I'm just going to go over the whole little head as well. And I've seen a few people change this by putting little tiny rhinestones down the body, or a little bit for eyes and things, and that looks pretty cute as well. I'm just making that look a little bit fatter, and there. And then with your blends, I've got the light one, and I'm going to go over sort of the whole of the butterfly, apart from little tiny bits that will be left black. So I'm just going to colour, just going to colour so that it looks like the designer series paper. I'm not going to go over too many of the black bits. If you wanted, you could go over with the black blender pen and make it a bit darker, or with a Stampin' Right marker. And I'm just going to quickly colour. And some of these I'm going to go over with the darker blend as well. So there will be a couple of colours on it. It won't all be the same yellowy colour. Just go over this. It's really quite fast to colour. You don't have to spend much time on the colouring. And if you didn't have blender pens, you could use crayons, or you could use ink and a little paintbrush. Lots of different ways to colour. Often I've just coloured with Sharpie markers too, and that's quite nice too. I wouldn't suggest that you tried to watercolour using this ink because it's a water-based ink as well, so it would run. If you wanted to watercolour, you would have to use one of the inks like a StazOn. So then that won't run if you're trying to watercolour. But because the blends are alcohol markers, it means it doesn't move the watercolour black ink that's on here. Just going to go over a little tiny bit of these, just to put a little bit more colour in. But you could take more time and do little patterns, whatever. Just make it a little bit the same at this side. And then I'm just going to get the lighter one again and just sort of blend that in a bit more. There we go. So it didn't look too dark. I'm still going to leave some of them light though. And let's have a look. A little bit more on there. Just a bit more on some of these. There we go. And then you could go over these black bits with the black marker. I'm not going to, but you could do that. Okay, so now all you need to do is the same as we did with the paper. Just fold the little wings up, but try and keep the body a little bit flat. And then just a little bit of liquid glue. Pop it over there. Just hold it for a second. And then the little sentiment I have already got punched out, stamped out. And last time I made whole strips with this like little thin scraps, and I stamped the sentiment a few times. So I'll just get my scissors and I'm just going to pennant the end. So I'm going to chop that bit off. I'm going to make a little line halfway across the card here, and then I'm going to go from the corner to where I finished cutting. Let's see, I'm going to chop a little bit off the end. I always leave them a little bit long, and then it doesn't matter if I need to have a little bit more length on it, or if I need to chop a little bit off, that's fine. Okay, popping a couple of dimensionals on. Then I'll pop that under there. Oop, I don't want it quite as high as that. There we go. I want it just so that I can see all the writing. And there we are. So you can still achieve the same card with a little flying butterfly if you do the stamping and then fussy cut it out and just colour it with any kind of colouring tools that you have. Now the second card that I showed on the blog was this purple one, and a couple of people have asked me what I did to make this little butterfly stand out a bit, and I don't know if you can see it from there. I coloured this butterfly in straight onto the card, and I did it with Highland Heather, so I used my light and my dark and the light basic black to go over the body again, and I put a very, very thin line of my light pool party around the whole of the butterfly, and that just makes it lift off the page a little. Just that colour makes the rest of the colours pop and almost look a bit 3D. You can do that as well with a little smoky slate, a pale grey round it, and that would work. I added 3 little rhinestones and one of the sentiments like I showed you. I had these already stamped. I just cut a little piece off and made it go across the whole card. And then I added this little seam binding. And a couple of people have said, I've checked in the catalogue and I can't find this seam binding or this ribbon that you used. And that's because I made it myself. I got just a little piece of seam binding and the blender pens. Now, if you don't have the blender pens, what you can also do is use an ink refill. Pop a little bit in the bottom of a glass or a little jam jar with some water and dip the ribbon in. And after a couple of minutes, it should have taken up the colour. Take it out and let it dry. But with the blender pens, you don't have to let it dry. All you do, I'm going to use the light blender pen. All you do is colour your ribbon. And you can see it's really fast. It does both sides at the same time and it dries just about instantaneously. So I often colour these ribbons because you can bet your life there's a colour that I need and I don't have. Okay, now if you look at that and think, it's a bit paler than I wanted, get the darker one. Won't make any difference at all. This is already dry, so pop it down and go over with the darker colour. It's just like colouring in a little piece of paper. You see, it's already gone through to the back as well. So, and then I just let it dry if it needs to for a couple of seconds and then use it to make a little bow. So if you don't have many of the ribbons, a white one is always a good one to get, and especially this seam binding because it takes the colour so quickly. But any of the white ribbons and probably the very vanilla ribbons too would take colour fast. And it just means that you've got more things or sort of more embellishments that you can use. Even though you haven't bought any more, you can use your blender pens, your ink refills and make those colours. So I hope that helps for those people who said, oh, you've made that beautiful card and now I can't make it because we can't get this paper. It's just as easy to make it by using the stamps, cut them out and colouring in. So thank you so much for watching me, everybody. I will link this back to the original blog post from last Friday where it was on my blog and on my Facebook page with the Casually Crafters blog. So thank you so much again for watching and I'll see you all again really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.